The gorilla's hands moved desperately behind the glass. It was an ordinary Saturday at the National Zoo. Hundreds of visitors walked past the primate enclosure, laughing and taking pictures, but no one, absolutely no one, understood what the massive silverback was trying to communicate. His large, dark hands formed precise, deliberate, urgent gestures. Tourists assumed it was curious behavior, maybe even entertaining. Some children imitated him while laughing. Some adults commented on how intelligent the animal seemed, but his eyes showed something far beyond intelligence. They showed fear. Among the crowd, an 8-year-old girl named Lucia stopped suddenly. Her brown eyes widened. While her mother looked at the zoo map, Lucia stared at the gorilla. Slowly, almost without breathing, she raised her small hands and began to respond. The gorilla moved closer to the glass. His movements became faster, more intense. The girl turned pale. She suddenly pulled her mother's arm with force. What no one knew yet was that within the next 24 hours, that silent encounter between a deaf girl and a gorilla would trigger the largest criminal investigation in the history of that zoo. It would expose years of hidden cruelty and forever change the lives of dozens of innocent animals. Before continuing with this shocking story, we want to hear from you. Do you believe animals in captivity can communicate their suffering? Have you ever witnessed a moment of extraordinary connection with an animal? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you want to know the surprising ending of this story, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now then, let's discover what the gorilla told Lucia. Lucia was born without the ability to hear. Since she was 2 years old, her parents, Rosa and Miguel, had taught her sign language. For Lucia, silence wasn't a limitation. It was just a different kind of language, another way of understanding the world. That October Saturday, she had insisted on visiting the zoo. It was her favorite place. She loved watching the animals, studying their gestures, their expressions. For her, who lived in a world without sound, body language was everything. When they reached the primate enclosure, something immediately caught her attention. The largest gorilla, identified by a plaque that read Bakari, was behaving strangely. While others took pictures, Lucia noticed that his movements weren't random. They were systematic, repetitive, intentional. And then she understood. He was signing. Not perfectly, but unmistakably to someone who had spent her whole life communicating that way. Pain. Help. Night. Bad man. The gorilla's huge hands formed the symbols with urgency, and Lucia's heart began to race. Her mother at first thought her daughter was imagining things, but when she saw tears in Lucia's eyes, when she saw her signing back and the gorilla responding, when she saw the pleading look in the animal's eyes, she understood something extraordinary was happening. "Mom," Lucia signed with trembling hands. "He says they hurt them at night when no one is around. He says the man with the scar hits them. They don't get enough food. They are afraid." Rosa shivered. She looked around for a zoo employee. A young staff member in uniform had stopped nearby. Her name tag read Patricia Mendez, veterinary assistant. Rosa approached her. "Excuse me, I know this will sound unbelievable, but my daughter is deaf and communicates with sign language. That gorilla is signing and asking for help." Patricia frowned in disbelief, but the urgency in the mother's face and the seriousness in the child's expression kept her from dismissing it. "That's impossible," Patricia said. "Our gorillas aren't trained in sign language. Bakari arrived just 2 years ago from a sanctuary in Africa." "Someone taught him," Rosa insisted. "Look for yourself." Patricia walked to the glass. Bakari moved again, more intensely this time. And then Patricia saw something she would never forget. Beneath the gorilla's dark fur were bruises, fresh scars. Her face turned pale. She had seen unusual behaviors in animals for weeks, but the zoo director always explained them away. Now, a horrifying suspicion began to form. "Stay here," Patricia said, voice tense. "Do not leave. I need to make some calls." Patricia took Lucia and Rosa to her office. She called her colleague, Dr. Fernando Rivas, a veterinarian at a wildlife hospital, someone not under the zoo director's control. She explained everything. Then they called Laura Mendoza, an inspector from the National Animal Welfare Commission. Within hours, the authorities arrived with a court order to inspect the entire zoo. The director, Mr. Valdez, a large man with a prominent scar on his cheek, tried to stop them. Laura stepped forward. "If you try to interfere, you will be arrested." The investigation began. What they discovered would haunt them forever. Hidden from visitors in the restricted areas, filthy cages, animals starving, untreated wounds, electric prods, metal hooks, chains. Bakari was not the only victim. The zoo director had been stealing the funds meant for animal care for 3 years, over 2 million pesos diverted to his personal accounts. The abuse was systematic, deliberate, and cruel. Valdez and 2 night caretakers, the ones who punished the animals, were arrested that night. But one mystery remained. How did Bakari learn sign language? The answer came the next morning. Bakari had not come from an African sanctuary. He had been rescued from an illegal circus, and before that, he had spent 12 years in a research center in Atlanta, where scientists studied communication between gorillas and humans. He had learned over 300 signs. He had once been joyful, gentle, expressive, a retired primatologist. Dr. Marcus Wellington cried when he learned Bakari was alive. "Bakari trusted humans," he said, "and we betrayed him." The story went viral. People around the world demanded justice and rescue for the animals. Patricia took temporary leadership of the zoo. Veterinarians and donations poured in. The zoo was transformed into a true rescue center. Lucia visited Bakari every day. They became inseparable friends. And then came the day Bakari would begin his journey home. He was relocated to a protected reserve in the Congo. Before boarding, Lucia signed to him, "You will be free. You will have family. You will be happy." Bakari pressed his hand to the glass. He signed back, "Thank you, little friend. Never forget." And then he created a new sign. Hands to chest, extended outward. "I carry you in my heart." 3 weeks later, Bakari walked into the rainforest, where he belonged. A wild gorilla troop accepted him. Before disappearing into the trees, he turned back one last time. He raised his hand. A final goodbye, a final thank you. And then he was home.